Well, hello YouTubers, hello Facebook people, hello Twitter people, and hello LinkedIn people. This is Bob Hickman. It is so good to be back with all of you. Well, welcome back for another weekend of our Sunday Seance. For those of you who came out last week, I want to say thank you to all of you for your time and your wonderful and generous support for this new series. I got a lot of thumbs up, a lot of comments, and a lot of nice letters. I'm so glad that this series is helpful for all of you. So welcome back. Now, for those of you who are new just tuning in, this is going to be a weekly video series where we kind of follow the old-time spiritualist church tradition. I came up through the years in the spiritualist church, and these days you don't see a lot of spiritualist churches around. A lot of you have written to me and said, Bob, I've never been to a spiritualist church. I hear you're from it. What's it like? Well, you know, in a spiritualist church, as those of you who were last week know, but for those of you who are new, spiritualist church is very beautiful, peaceful experience. Basically, you go in, they usually have some hymns, some prayers, and they'll oftentimes have a reading from the Bible as well as the spiritualist manual, and then generally the mediums will take the stage and deliver a message, many times in trance, and they'll also sometimes do readings for the congregation. So it's a beautiful, beautiful church service, and I thought we would kind of continue along in that tradition with this series. So every week we're going to have a little teaching from the Spiritualist Manual, and then I'm going to go into trance and deliver an address, or I should say an address will be delivered through me from the spirit world. So we'll see what they have. I never know what's going to happen, so I'm as much learning as all of you. So anyways, here we are. Well, I thought today we would read from this chapter on what spiritualism is and does. And this is taken from the old Spiritualist Manual. This is a 1944 edition. They still, I think, make this book, though it's harder to find these days. But anyways, it's basically, it hasn't changed too much over the years. So if you can find a newer version, it'd probably be pretty much the same. Anyway, so we're going to read from this chapter today. It says, what spiritualism is and does. It teaches personal responsibility. It removes all fear of death, which is really the portal of the spirit world. It teaches that death is not the cessation of life, but mere change of condition. It teaches not that a man has a soul, but that man is a soul and has a body. That man is a spiritual being now, even while encased in flesh. That man sows on earth as he reaps in the life to come. That those who have passed on are conscious, not asleep. That communications between the living and the dead is scientifically proven. It thus brings comfort to the bereaved and alleviates sorrow. Spiritualism is the science, philosophy, and religion of continuous life, based upon the demonstrated fact of communication by means of mediumship with those who live in the spirit world. It brings to the surface man's spiritual gifts such as inspiration, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and healing powers. It teaches that the spark of divinity dwells in all. That as a flower gradually unfolds in beauty, so the spirit of man unfolds and develops in the spirit spheres. Spiritualism is God's message to mortals, declaring that there is no death, that all who have passed on still live, that there is hope in the life beyond, even for the most sinful, that every soul will progress through the ages to heights sublime and glorious, where God is love, and love is God. It is a manifestation, a demonstration, and a proof of the continuity of life and of the truth of the many spirit manifestations recorded in the Bible. It demonstrates that many spiritual gifts with which mankind is endowed, but which through want of knowledge have been allowed to lay dormant, or through prejudice have been violently and unjustly suppressed. And this is taken from What Spiritualism Is and Does, from the Spiritualist Manual from the National Spiritualist Association. Anyways, I'm so glad you guys are here. Well, why don't you just sit back in your chairs, get comfortable. I'm going to get comfortable, and let's see what the spirit world has for us today. Join around as we begin our seance. Oh, this is Fletcher. It's so good to be here with all of you. Well, I wanted to come here and take a moment, just to say good afternoon. So many of you here have been wondering about eternal life, and I'm here to tell you that it's real. When I was a young man, I didn't have any care for the spiritual things. Oh, I grew up as a Catholic, but it didn't really take to my bones, if you know what I mean. I found a much more pleasure in, well, chasing a skirt and having a pint. And I used to have an auntie, and she was a great spiritualist, and she used to say, Fletcher, you got to give care to the other world. But I thought, oh, who's got time for all that craziness? I've got things I'd rather be thinking about here on earth. You know, when I was young, I was drafted into the war. Well, actually, I wasn't drafted, I joined up. But nonetheless, either way, I was glad to have gone, because I believed in the cause of fighting against the Germans. You know, when you're a young person, you have grand ideas in your head, and you'll be thinking, well, I can do anything, and I'll never die. You see, the idea of facing down a bullet didn't particularly scare me none, and I had this cocky attitude all the way through the war, until I was killed in the war. But you see, the funny thing about dying is that actually nobody ever really dies. I didn't have even just a flash of momentary change between being in the body and being in the spirit world. It seemed to me that I had lost my sight. I was standing on the battlefield, and I heard a whistling sound, and a big shell exploded right in near me. Well, it took me out of this body. And you know, I thought, well, what was that about? But I didn't think myself dead. But then I woke up and I found myself in this sort of strange place. It was kind of dim lit, and above me there was a bright and shining light. I thought, oh, perhaps I'm down in some sort of hole. Maybe I got knocked down into a pit after the bomb went off. I know that there had been an explosion. But then what I saw really shocked me. As I'm looking up, that light got brighter and brighter. And then I saw hands reaching down for me. And it was my grandparents that pulled me up. And I saw my grandfather. And he said, oh, Fletcher, come on up here. I said, oh, Grandad, so good to see you. What's going on here? He said, don't you know? You're dead, Fletcher. And then it dawned on me. Oh, yes, I was dead. Wait, he'd been dead for a few years. How could I be talking to him? Wait, if I'm dead, I wouldn't have a mind. Yet I found myself very alert and very conscious. And you see, this is the important thing, that nobody ever really dies. My auntie used to have seances at her house, and I'd always make sure that I wasn't at home. I used to say, well, I'm not going to stay around here and be talking to no spooks none. And I'd be going down to the local pub and having a good pint. But you see, if only I'd stayed and listened to some of them teachings of the spirits, well, I might have found myself in a little more elevated state. As it was, the good spirits of my family and my other guides pulled me up into that light. And you see, each of you have spirit guides that are guiding you, even as you sit here and listen today. You might say, well, I'd ever heard of no spirits. Oh, but don't make the mistake of thinking just because you don't hear us that we're not about. We're about oftentimes as the silent visitor, overlooking, guiding and protecting. And that's our job. We're so glad that you took the time to sit with us today. Hold on, we've got another person here who wants to visit. Greetings. My name is Rose. Such a pleasure to be here with all of you. Fletcher is telling you the truth of the spirit world. I was very much like him, being more concerned with the things of the earth than with the things of the spirit world. Who say death can come suddenly, and we should always be prepared for it. He is very right when he tells you that it happens in an instant, It really is a transition between the earthly life and the spiritual life. Life in the spirit world is one in which there is no passage of time. A day can be 1,000 years, and 1,000 years can be a day. I myself have already been over here, over 70 years. But if you were to ask me what it's like in time, it seems as if it was just a moment ago that I was standing on the earth. Because you are in a human body, you tend to see things through the human perspective, which is natural and normal. I do not wish to criticize this. But there is also within you a due facility for spiritual awareness and spiritual senses. Those who proclaim that there is no soul and there is no God, or simply those who have forgotten, they have forgotten their eternal truth, their eternal nature. Humankind is meant to live eternally, and existence is meant to be one of joy. I used to often think to myself when traveling about the world, I used to say, why is it that there are so many unhappy people? If the truth were to be told, I myself was a bit of one of those unhappy people, though I thought myself important, and so I mistook my spiritual bankruptcy for self-importance, thinking that was what was really important and what really mattered. But the truth of the matter is that humankind is meant to be spiritual as well as physical. And when one can find that balance, the earthly life takes on great transformation. You know, over here in the spirit world we have many great souls, and they are known by their light that they emit. The more one prepares on earth to make this transition, the smoother the transition is to the spirit world. And not only is it easier to transmit yourself over here, transport yourself, I should say, but you will shine like a star, like a sun blazing. There are souls here so bright that if we had earthly eyes, we could not even look upon them. They are the souls who devoted their life to doing good, to helping their fellow man, to living in love, and to sacrificing self in the service of those in need. My light is rather dim compared to theirs, but over here I am allowed to grow and to progress. As I work as a guide to our medium, I gain more light. If you call upon us to serve you, we will be glad to come and help. Never fear that you are bothering us, for it is our honor and our pleasure to serve you. In allowing us to help you, you in turn help us to grow. It really is a partnership between the two worlds. Thank you for allowing me to come today. My name is Rose. Well, guys, I'm so glad that you took the time to join us today for our Sunday afternoon seance, and I hope that you'll make this a regular thing and come every week. We'd sure love to have you here. I hope you'll give me thumbs up, put comments in the box below, and tell me, have you guys ever been to a seance? And what was it like for you? Give me some feedback. Tell me what you've experienced in your journeys in spirit. I'd sure love to hear about it. Anyways, also, if you guys are interested, I am available for private readings. I do private trance channeling sessions as well as just regular readings like I do on Messages from the Spirit World. So my private readings are an hour long, and if you want to contact me to learn more about those or get on my schedule, my number is 571-483-2112, and I'd sure love to put you on my schedule. So anyways, thanks for being here, and of course, next Sunday we'll have another Psychic Bob Sunday Seance. Be here. We'll see you then. Blessings to you all.